Yes, hello my viewers. I welcome you once again to this channel, Irasamite Archives. Well, I received so many messages from very many people asking me to talk about costs, the theory of costs when it comes to farm. That's why in this video we are specifically going to talk about costs. These subtopics are usually counted in the topic of production and market structures. So we are going to look at the theory of costs. But we have to first understand what costs are, what costs mean. Well, costs are expenses incurred by the firm during production process to produce a given unit of output. Whenever a firm is operating, it incurs expenses if it is to produce commodities. During production process, there are expenses incurred. Those expenses that are incurred by the firm during production process in order to produce a given unit of output are the ones we call costs. Now, costs are categorized. We have categories of costs. We have the implicit costs and the explicit costs. All other costs, all other types of costs will come from these two categories. Well, with the implicit costs, when I say implicit costs, just from the name implicit, these are self-owned expenses. Or these are expenses that are incurred by the firm, but they are not included during the times of calculating the firm's profits. Whenever the accountants are calculating the profits earned by these firms, they don't include such costs. Or whenever the owner of the firm is calculating profits, he does not include the implicit costs. Why? Because in most cases, such costs are made by the owner. For example, we can give an example here. Salary of the proprietor. Some businesses are sole proprietorship kind of businesses. So the salary of the sole proprietor or the proprietor of the business is not clear. In most cases, when such people are calculating the profits, they don't include such costs. Rent for a building that has been provided by the owner of the business. That is another example. You will find that a business is operating, but it is not even paying rent. It is operating freely. So such costs are not met. Another example could be wages given to family labor, work done by family labor. You'll find that such costs are not included when calculating the firm's profits. Then we have explicit costs. These are monetary expenses. As I said, costs are expenses, but with these explicit costs, you'll find that they are usually included when calculating the firm's profits. So simply, explicit costs mean expenses made by the firm during the times of acquiring factors of production. When the firm is acquiring factors of production, during production process, it meets such expenses, like salaries of workers, salaries of top management, salaries of labor, those are the workers, rent for building, interest on capital. All those are other explicit costs. And these ones are included when calculating the firm's profits. So the difference between implicit and explicit is simply one. With implicit, those are expenses that are not included when calculating the firm's profits. These are self-owned expenses. They are usually made by the sole proprietor or the owner of the business. Then with explicit, these are monetary expenses that are usually included when calculating the firm's profits. And they're usually made when acquiring factors of production during production process. So let's go to types of costs. Now we have two major types of costs, and all other costs come from these two. We have the fixed costs, sometimes we call them overheads or overhead costs. The indirect costs. All these names mean fixed costs. Then we have the variable costs, or you can call them prime costs or direct or operating costs. Now let us go back to fixed. Why are they called fixed costs? Or what are fixed costs? Fixed costs are those expenses that do not vary directly with the level of output. These are expenses that do not vary. They don't vary directly with the level of output. What do I mean? You'll find that whether the level of output produced by the farm is high or low, these costs do not change. They are ever fixed. They are ever fixed. They don't vary. They don't keep on changing depending on the level of output. So even at the point where the farm is not producing any output, these fixed costs are paid. These fixed costs or overhead costs are made by the farm. Whether the farm is producing zero output or 15 units or